In May of 2013, my husband Andrew and I delivered our then 15-year-old daughter into the hands of strangers. Our road to Utah was long and complicated and painful, and we had tried everything else we could think of to help Emily learn to live a life with this debilitating anxiety and depression, and nothing had worked. So here we are in Utah. There's a team of therapists that are going to help us, and I am just determined to hate them all. It's so much easier to hate them than to deal with my own pain and rage and shame and guilt at the fact that we're here in the first place. There is Jess. She's tall and blonde and climbs mountains in her spare time. That's Emily's individual therapist. There's Dana. She's warm and smiling and so kind. When we have to leave after dropping Emily off for our very first time, and we're gonna fly away and leave her there, Dana looks at me and says, "You look like you could use a hug. Can I give you a hug?" And I look at Dana and say, "No." And there's Jamie. I'm gonna hate Jamie most of all, because Emily hates Jamie. Jamie's there on the weekends, and she's going to school full-time during the week to get her degree, and on the weekends she's with the girls, and she's pretty strict, and Emily kind of hates her guts, so I'm gonna hate her guts right there with Emily. And there's more than hate there. What I really feel for Jamie is kind of contempt, because we just have nothing in common, and I can't believe this person is who's supposed to be helping my kid. So our first parent visiting weekend, I'm assigned to spend time with Jamie. This is gonna bridge the gap a little bit. So to make some conversation, I say, "What's your life like?" And she tells me she lives outside of town on land. It's not a farm, it's just land. I don't even know what that means. And she's got 4 sons, and for fun they ride ATVs and they go camping. So like with every word that comes out of her mouth, we have less than nothing in common. We started with nothing and now we have less. Until I say to her, "What is it like living with 4 boys? That sounds like a lot of energy." And she goes, "Oh my God." She goes, "It totally is." She goes, "Sometimes they just drive me crazy, and I go upstairs and I take a bath and I lock the door. And sometimes it's so bad, I tell them, go out and take your .22 and shoot some squirrels and don't come back until you've gotten your yayas out." Like, this is not in line with my values. We've got children and guns and murdering small creatures for sport, and I just go like, oh my God. Like, I think I audibly roll my eyes because Jamie goes, "You should try it sometime, guns are fun." And I go like, "No guns for us." And she goes, "You never know." "No guns for us." But as the year goes on, not only do I stop hating these people, but I see the progress Emily's making. I see the progress that I'm making. I see the progress we're all making. And I come to respect them and admire them and even come to love them because I am so grateful for all that they're doing for our family. I see how ugly and hateful and even biased, if I'm being really truthful, my original thoughts were. And everything shifts. 13 months, 2 weeks, and 3 days after arriving in Utah, it's time for Emily to graduate and go home. The weekend will include speeches and ceremonies and tears, but for the mommy, it will also include packing and shipping and all the logistics involved in getting this girl home. So one morning, Emily and I go to Target to buy a new suitcase and some boxes. We leave Andrew at the hotel, and we're driving our rental car, and we pass this really big, low, squat building with no windows. And on the side, in letters as big as I am. It says, guns and ammo, lessons here. And for what reason, I don't know. I look at Emily and I go, you wanna? And she goes, really? And I go, yeah. And we turn around and we pull into the parking lot and we go inside, and there's a man sitting at a glass counter, and it's filled with things that I can identify as pistols and revolvers, and every inch of wall space is filled with rifles and shotguns and assault rifles and things that I don't even know what the words for them are. And I say to the man, hi, we'd like to take a lesson. We'd like to shoot some guns, please. And he goes, what kind of guns do you want to shoot? And I go, the shooty kind. And he says, I'd like to help you, but I can't because the ladies' gun club is meeting right now and all the shooting range spaces are filled. You'll have to come back tomorrow. And I explain to him, we are leaving Utah tomorrow for fucking ever. I slide my credit card across the counter and I say, are you sure there is nothing you can do to help us? And he says, hold on. And he comes back in a couple of minutes and he brings us down a flight of stairs to the shooting range. And it's kind of like a bowling alley, except with not pins at the end of the lanes. It's got targets, right? It looks just like you've seen on the cop shows. And he takes a couple of pistols. He takes a pistol out of a suitcase and gives us like some basic safety instruction and how to do it. You gotta sight down on the sight, you gotta squeeze slowly and expect some recoil. And he puts us into ear protectors and he says, okay, go. And I shoot at the target, the bullseye, and I do okay. It's kind of okay. And then Emily has a go with the pistol. And then the guy goes, okay, now machine guns. And I like, say what? And he goes, yeah. He goes, it's just like it was for doing the pistol, except it's gonna be louder and faster and there's more recoil, so you gotta really brace. And he hands me this giant weapon with this, it's got like a round cylinder full of bullets and a big belt. And he takes, instead of a bullseye now on the target, there's this zombie woman. And she's got stringy hair and blood, sharp teeth, and claws coming at me. And he goes, all right, go. And I put on my ear protection and I pick up this giant gun and bam, 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 bam. And it's awesome. I feel destructive and powerful, and all that rage and pain comes right out through my trigger finger and into the zombie lady. And after me goes Emily. And I take a picture of Emily in her little floral sundress and her lime green ear protectors, grinning from ear to ear as she blasts the shit out of her zombie. And I post it that night on Facebook.
Uh-oh.
And I take a lot of flack from family and friends who accuse me of betraying our shared values. And I haven't. Like, I'm still in favor of common sense gun laws. I'm still not really, into the whole gun culture and all that. But my values didn't change that day. My priorities did. And what I figured out was that what mattered was my kid and my family and myself and my life. What mattered was learning not to be so closed off to new experiences and new people. I stopped saying no that day and started saying yes to everything. That's how I found myself on stage the first time at the Moth. That's how I found myself ziplining in Hawaii. That's how I found myself on Jeopardy. It's also how I found myself at a strip club on the other side of town, but okay. I just say yes to everything now. So what I know is I'm ready for adventure, and if you have an invitation, hit me up. I'm ready to say yes. I'll give it a shot. Thanks.